in my experience, Lauten Audio makes some exceptional sounding microphones. I think some of the best mics in the world. This is the Lauten Atlantis. And this is the Lauten Clarion. And they live in the same signature series family. But are they the same mic? Let's check it out.
From the mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov.
So big thanks to Lauten Audio for sending over the Atlantis. I mean, I think that they know by now, I think everyone knows by now that the Clarion has become my favorite microphone of all time. I mean, I have been doing all of my VO work with the Lauten Clarion, all of my VO work. I haven't used a secondary mic for my VO work in a couple of weeks. I've transitioned to using the Clarion on everything, because I think it's such a great, versatile recording tool that sounds amazing. And then comes the Lauten Atlantis, which is a different beast entirely, but there are some similarities. Let's take a look at them. So first and foremost, I know that this camera angle may be a little bit deceiving. The camera is actually above me, right, pointing down. And they're both of these mics are exactly one shaka away from my mouth. So we're definitely, I think they're aligned properly for a side-by-side demonstration. Now, the Clarion overall, the biggest difference between these mics is that the Clarion has a smaller capsule. It has a 35 millimeter capsule, which is still a larger capsule than the normal 34 millimeter size capsule you find in the U87 or another, generally the same type of mic. So it has a larger capsule, which brings with it benefits of better low-end capture, a little bit more clarity, more detail. But the Atlantis has a 38 millimeter capsule, and not only is it larger, but it's a different capsule construction. It has an edge-terminated capsule as opposed to the Clarion's center-terminated K67 style capsule. So the capsule in the Atlantis it's constructed more like a CK12 style capsule. And they're different because the way they handle tone, the way they handle sound is different. The sound that you generally get from an edge-terminated capsule is more that smile curve, right? You get more of a low-end emphasis and more of a high-end emphasis. So some people think it has a scooped sound, but what Lauten did was they've engineered the mic, so it doesn't have that weird scooped sound. It has actually kind of a nice forward sound. And part of that is because I have both mics in plus 10 dB right now. I'm going to switch the Clarion to 0 dB and then change the gain settings to match. So here we go. First, we're going to take that down, and then let's add 10 dB here. All right, so that is the 0 dB, no boost, no pad setting, the neutral setting. Right? The out-of-the-box neutral setting on the Clarion. Now let's do the same over here with the Atlantis. Let's add 10 dB right there. All right, so that's about right. And this is the neutral setting, and it does definitely feel a lot more. It feels a lot more scooped like this. You're definitely feeling more of that low-end presence. You're feeling less mid-range. So that's why I think the plus 10 dB is a great starter point for voiceover for me, for at least what I do. Now, the biggest difference between these mics really is, it's not so much the capsule. I mean, I would hazard a guess that the circuits are fairly similar, right, between them, except with the exception of the Atlantis has these three voicings. It has neutral, gentle, and forward. Let me pop it into forward. So in forward, right now here, we're getting back more into the sonic territory that makes sense for voiceover. So forward is a boost of the upper mids and the highs. And when you do that, even though they haven't really done anything with the low end, you definitely feel more of a presence of that upper mids and the highs. So I like that. And then compared to the the Clarion in its neutral setting, right? It definitely sounds not as exciting. It sounds great though. But here, let me put this back into plus 10 dB. Let me roll back that audio. So, okay, so here we have the Clarion in the plus 10 dB setting. So this is the more forward, aggressive sounding setting on the Clarion. And then we go back here, and we go back here, right? So on the Atlantis, and it's not quite the same, right? It really definitely feels like there's more low end going on, which is why I like the plus 10 dB setting on the Atlantis. Let me pop that back in. All right, here we go. Let me adjust the volume here. I'm doing it manually on the SPL Pre-1. So here we go. So this is with plus 10 dB and the forward setting on. And how does that compare to the Clarion? It's different. It's different. So I'm happy to report that there is a difference between them. Now, let's do this real quick. So this is the Clarion again with the plus 10 dB setting on in cardioid. And then we're going to go over here. We're going to take this out of the forward setting, back into the neutral setting. So how does this, so in plus 10 dB in neutral, right? How does this compare to the Clarion? Oh, hold on. All right, so here is the Clarion. So is this in, yeah, it's in plus 10 dB. So this is the Clarion, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the Atlantis, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they do sound very similar. Not exactly the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. So here we are back on the Clarion. What I want to do now is I want to show you, I want to just pop back and forth between them. Because, you know, this is the closest I think that they sound to each other. So again, here's the Atlantis. The wheels on the bus go round and round. Round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round. Round and round, round and round. So again, here we are on the Clarion. And again, here we are on the Atlantis. So this is pretty much where I'm using the Atlantis for voiceover, in the plus 10 dB setting. In neutral, not in forward. I use forward a little bit. Forward is cool. Forward does pop it a little bit, but it's a little bit aggressive. It's good for, like, I would think promo stuff. It's good for, like, softer spoken stuff to bring it out. It's an enormous change in tone, because it's definitely boosting that high end. It's kind of limiting the low end, which you don't need, and it's really kind of highlighting, really, I think, the points in my voice that matter most for this type of work. So there's that. So this is forward. Let's go back to this voicing. Here we are in neutral, right? So there we are in neutral. And here we are in forward again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to switch into gentle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now gentle makes it a lot darker. And I think this could be really cool for some storytelling stuff. You know, you almost get more of a ribbony top end. It's a lot smoother. It's not as in your face. So I'm just going to run through all three voicings real quick here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think there's a bigger disparity between gentle and neutral than there is from neutral and forward. Because I think once you start rolling back those highs in gentle, you're really just you're shifting the perception of the main tonality downward. Whereas in neutral and in forward, you're still living in the mids and the upper mids. So again, where we have the mic right now in neutral, in plus 10, and then here it is in forward and plus 10, and here it is in forward and in with no booster pad. So overall, right, I think that you have a whole arsenal of versatile settings here. Go back to this. All right, so I think that you really, for voiceover, I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of any mic that replaces many mics, you know? So I think that the Atlantis and the Clarion are very closely matched. But I think that overall the Clarion has a little bit of a punchier tone, and I do think that that's part of that is because the larger capsule in the Atlantis, a little trouble switching. The larger capsule in the Atlantis has a wider sweet spot, so it's picking up more of the booth, more of the room. And I don't think that that's a terrible thing. I don't think it's a fatal flaw, but it's something to be aware of. But it also, I think, gives it a little bit more dimension than the Clarion. The Clarion feels a little bit flatter, but it's nice though. It doesn't feel unnatural. But this feels like it has a little bit more dimension to it. So are they different mics? They're definitely different mics. They do have that Lauten family sound, which I really, really like, and I think is perfect for the kind of stuff that I do. So overall, right? I mean, I was wondering, does the Atlantis replace the Clarion in the booth? Does the Clarion remain here? And I think the Clarion does, because the Clarion is a little bit different. It's subtly different. And maybe not so subtle, actually. But you're definitely getting, it's like a tighter, punchier sound. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with the capsule on this mic. You know, it being more of a K67 style capsule. The capsule that I think really works better for getting that mid-forward, forward sound. But the manipulation that the Atlantis is capable of with its advanced circuitry is pretty darn cool. So I think the Atlantis definitely covers more territory. So the question then becomes, right? I mean, you know, which one? Which one, right? And that I can't tell you yet, because I've only been working with the Atlantis for like, a couple of weeks now, and I'm blown away by it. But, I don't know. So I've been testing on some stuff, and I will keep you apprised of any observations that I come across that may be relevant to your choice. So what do you think so far? What do you think of the difference between them? And, again, I think this is the kind of thing where on a phone speaker, there's going to be a lot of similarity that you're not going to catch on a higher end playback system. So if you're listening to it on studio monitors through high end playback through headphones, you may perceive a difference. And then the question always becomes, is that difference relevant? Does it matter? I'm not sure yet. But I want to know what you're thinking. I want your input. This is a focus group here, okay? Let me know what you're thinking. All right, so again, here I am on the Clarion, and here I am on the Atlantis. All right, leave a comment. Until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.